Hi, this is Farrell White doing the final presentation for Math 150. My final project is an analysis of the season finale of Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. I was assisted in this project by my daughter, Alexa White. She is our resident expert on Ladybug and Cat Noir. Little background information about the show. It's about a high school student named Marinette who becomes Ladybug with the help of her Kwame Tiki. She has the power of the Lucky Charm, which she says, and then she gains a magical device to help her defeat the villain. And then after the villain has been defeated, she throws it in the air, and she says, "Miraculous Ladybugs," and the damage is all reversed. Her partner in crime is Cat Noir, or Adrian Agreste. They go to the same high school. His power is the power of the Cataclysm, which allows him to destroy anything he touches. The main villain of the whole show is Hawkmoth. He has a butterfly miraculous that allows him to turn into Hawkmoth. But because he's a bad guy, he creates villains instead of heroes. He creates these little evil butterflies, and the evil butterflies are called Akuma. And anytime there's an intense emotion, he makes a little Akuma and he sends it after the person. It makes the person into an evil villain to do his bidding, which is essentially to steal the miraculouses of Ladybug and Cat Noir. That's his goal, but it's not always the goal of the villain he creates. The premise of my analysis is I would like to find out if Hawkmoth used the best of his temporary villains for the final battle for the Miracle Box, which is where all of the miraculous are stored. I will be looking at his chosen person, which is Queen Wasp, to determine how quickly she affected the entire population of Paris, and if she was the best choice. I'm going to be comparing her to a villain of my choosing, which is Zombie Zoo, and one of my assistants choosing Puppeteer. Queen Wasp is actually Queen Bee, the wearer of the Bee Miraculous, who was a good guy. But then she was akumatized while she had her miraculous activated, so she became Queen Wasp. So she has all of the wasps at her disposal, and they do whatever she commands them to do. In the episode, she has them sting the entire population, and then she'll give out a single command like, "Owners of the miraculous, come forth," and then anybody that's stung that has a miraculous meets up, and she turns them all into bad guys to fight for her. Zombie Zoo was in one of the earlier episodes. She just wants everybody to fall in love and be friendly. So she gets mad at Hawkmoth for trying to turn one of her students into a villain and accidentally becomes one herself. When her akumatized lipstick gives her magical kisses, and so she does a magical kiss, and it affects someone, and then that someone immediately tries to kiss all of the people around them. And then Puppeteer over on this side has an akumatized wand that allows her to control dolls that Marinette made of villains that she had fought as Ladybug. The first one is Lady Wi-Fi, who has the ability to pause people and just stop them in their tracks. One is the Evillustrator, who can draw and erase objects. And the last one is Roger Cop, and he is a cop that turns into like a Terminator-style robot that doesn't like it when people break the rules. So my first goal was to determine the growth rate So for Queen Wasp, in the show, it takes her 4 minutes to overtake the entire population of Paris. In my research, they don't collect data about wasps in Paris, but I did find where they say that scientists typically use the bee numbers to estimate the wasps because they tend to be almost equal. The largest hive I found to have a single queen was approximately 80,000. Any more than that, and the hive tends to split off and have a new queen. So I took the initial 80,000 times the growth rate raised to the minutes, and I was able to get a growth rate of 3.43. And that gives us the population of Paris was 11,079,000, and in 4 minutes that got us fairly close to that number. So then I determined the growth rate for Zombie Zoo. In the show, it takes her 10 minutes to overtake the population of Paris. Unlike Queen Wasp, Zombie Zoo starts off by herself. And so I was able to count the zombies in the first few minutes of the show. Up to 3 minutes, there were 20. And then at that 3-minute mark, she releases them from the high school. And you can no longer keep track of how many there are. But after 10 minutes, I made the assumption I put in the population of Paris here, and I was able to create the graph that gave me the equation to figure out the growth rate of 6.42. Finally, I did Puppeteer's growth rate. In the show, Puppeteer tends to be more focused on the goal of the miraculous and less on making everybody do her bidding. So there's not a point in the show where she has control of the entire population. So I calculated hers out. 10 minutes, I counted how long it took her to gain control of all of her puppets. Once she has control of Lady Wi-Fi could theoretically speed this up by just pausing people. But if Puppeteer was left to her own devices, I believe that it would take her approximately 93.5 minutes to get the entire population affected. So her growth rate is much slower at 1.19. So a side-by-side analysis, Queen Wasp is at 3.43 and took 4 minutes. It would take 93.5 minutes for Puppeteer. So despite my assistant's claim that Puppeteer is the coolest, and so she should win, she doesn't affect the entire population more efficiently than Queen Wasp does. So for this analysis, she didn't win this time. Queen Wasp versus Zombie Zoo. Zombie Zoo's growth rate was much higher, but because she started out by herself, I created a couple scenarios to help even the odds. The first one was where I cut the population of wasps down to 25,000. And even I kept the growth rate the same, but even doing that, she just went from 4 minutes to affect the entire population to 5 minutes, and that still wasn't enough. And so I wondered how many wasps she would need to come in longer than 10 minutes. And it turns out that anything less than 49, and it would take her longer than 10 minutes. Unfortunately, there's just not very many hives that only have 49 bees, or wasps for that matter. So my next scenario was if I gave Zombie Zoo 80,000 zombies to start. How long would it take for her to get to that population of Paris mark, that 11,079,000? And she bypasses it it by a lot at the 4-minute mark. So her growth rate is way faster, and she'd be much more efficient. And so then I did a side-by-side of if they each started by themselves, which Zombie Zoo did. And so this is her initial chart of it taking her 10 minutes to affect the population. When I start Queen Wasp by herself, it takes her more than 15 minutes to affect the entire population. So Queen Wasp was a good choice because she had an instantaneous horde of people to help her in the wasp that stung everyone. Zombie Zoo could definitely beat her if she didn't have control of all of the wasps, which when she was Queen Bee, she didn't have all of that. So as Queen Bee versus Zombie Zoo, Queen Bee would have definitely lost. But Puppeteer is the only one that could focus on what the task was. So that is it for my presentation. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.